I never thought respect mattered. Not really. I was smart, hardworking, and determined. That's all anyone needed to succeed, right? At least, that's what I believed. My name is Advik, and back then I had a habit of speaking without thinking. I interrupted my teachers, dismissed my elders' advice, and brushed off small courtesies like they were meaningless. People often reminded me to be more respectful, but I didn't take it seriously. What difference did it make? Then, one fateful day, I met a man who would change my perspective forever, an old retired judge named Mr. Rish. It happened in the town library, a place I rarely visited. That day, I was looking for a book, something to pass the time, when I noticed a frail yet dignified man sitting at a large wooden table. His silver-rimmed glasses rested on the bridge of his nose as he turned the pages of an ancient book. There was something about him, an aura of wisdom, a quiet authority. I didn't realize he was watching me until he spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Young man, do you know what truly makes a man great?" I hesitated, caught off guard. "Maybe intelligence, power?" I answered. He chuckled, shaking his head. "No, my boy, greatness is measured by the respect you give to others." His words hung in the air like an unspoken challenge. I frowned. Respect? But why should that matter more than knowledge or success? He leaned forward, eyes twinkling with experience. "Let me tell you a story," he said, his voice carrying a weight that made me listen. "A story of two brothers, Raj and Ajan, who learned this lesson the hard way." And so, he began, drawing me into a tale that felt eerily familiar, yet strangely gripping. Raj and Ajan were sons of a wealthy man, a merchant known for his wisdom. The older brother, Raj, was diligent, kind, and humble, while Ajan, the younger one, was ambitious but arrogant. Their father wanted to test their character, so one day he summoned them. "I will give each of you 10 gold coins," he announced. "Spend them wisely, for your choices will decide your future." The brothers took their money and set out for the marketplace. Raj walked with quiet curiosity, while Ajan strode with confidence, already imagining the riches he would gain. At the market, Ajan wasted no time. He bought the finest clothes, indulged in expensive food, and flaunted his wealth before his friends. He sneered at shopkeepers, spoke rudely to servants, and dismissed beggars with a wave of his hand. "Money gives me power," he declared, tossing a gold coin onto the table of a merchant who dared to ask for respect. Meanwhile, Raj observed everything around him. He saw an old bookseller struggling to make a sale and bought a book from him. He noticed a merchant in distress and helped him with his goods. Every action was laced with kindness. Years passed. Their father grew old and called the villagers together. "Today," he announced, "I will choose who will inherit my fortune." Ajan stepped forward, smiling smugly. "Father, I have proven myself. I understand business. I know how to command, and I am not afraid to take what I want." Raj, as always, remained silent. Their father then turned to the people and asked, "Who among my sons do you respect the most?" The answer came immediately. "Raj," they said in unison. "He treats us with kindness, he listens, he respects us, so we respect him." Ajan's smirk faded. He looked around, realizing that despite all his wealth and power, he stood alone. His father placed a hand on his shoulder and sighed. "Wealth and intelligence may open doors, my son, but only respect keeps them open. People follow not the richest man, but the one they admire." Ajan lowered his head, shame washing over him. He had spent his life chasing power, only to realize too late that power meant nothing without respect. Hearing this, I swallowed hard. The story hit me deeper than I cared to admit. Mr. Rish studied my face and smiled knowingly. He closed his book and looked me in the eyes. "Son, a true man is known not by his power, but by his respect for others. Let me teach you how to earn it." His words lingered in my mind, stirring something unfamiliar, a desire to change. He listed 10 simple principles. Listen more, speak less, show gratitude, treat others with kindness, control your anger, and most importantly, respect everyone. At first, the changes felt insignificant. I forced myself to say thank you more often, to acknowledge people I usually ignored. But something unexpected happened. People started treating me differently. Teachers, once frustrated by my impatience, nodded in approval. Friends confided in me, trusting my words. Even strangers seemed warmer. I wasn't demanding respect, I was earning it. The more I embraced Mr. Rish's advice, the more I saw the truth in his story. Respect wasn't about words, it was about actions. And I was finally beginning to understand just how much I had been missing all these years. But the real test of my newfound respect was yet to come, one that would challenge everything I had learned. The transformation wasn't instant, nor was it easy. Old habits clung to me like shadows, whispering that I didn't need to change. There were moments when I felt irritated, wanting to cut people off mid-sentence or dismiss their opinions. But every time I did, I remembered Ajin standing alone, watching his legacy slip away. I forced myself to pause, to listen. The effect was astonishing. People responded differently. My teachers, once critical of my impatience, started showing approval. My parents, who had long lectured me, now looked at me with pride. I was no longer just hearing, I was understanding. One evening, I faced my greatest challenge. A younger classmate, shy and nervous, approached me for help with his studies. Before, I would have waved him off, too busy with my own goals to care. But something stopped me. I saw his hesitation, the way he braced himself for rejection. I set my books aside and listened. As I explained concepts to him, his eyes lit up with understanding. Gratitude replaced hesitation. That night, I realized respect wasn't about grand gestures. It was in the small moments, choosing kindness when it was easier to walk away. My friendships changed too. People who once laughed at my bluntness now sought my advice. One day, a friend confided in me about a personal struggle. In the past, I might have interrupted, dismissing his feelings as unimportant, but I stayed quiet, letting him speak. When he finished, he sighed in relief, as if a weight had been lifted. "You actually listened," he said, almost surprised. That moment stayed with me. Respect wasn't about appearing powerful. It was about making others feel heard, valued. For the first time, I understood why Mr. Risch had emphasized it so much. But not everyone was quick to accept the new me. Some classmates, used to my old ways, tested my patience. One in particular, Rohan, enjoyed provoking me, waiting for me to snap. One afternoon, he deliberately bumped into me, making my books fall. "Oops," he smirked. The old Advik would have retaliated with a sharp remark, maybe even a shove. Instead, I took a deep breath, picked up my books, and met his gaze calmly. "No problem," I said, surprising even myself. Rohan blinked, confused. Without conflict, his amusement faded. Respect had diffused a situation that could have escalated. As time passed, my reputation changed. Teachers started relying on me. My parents no longer had to remind me about respect. I wanted to show it. Even strangers seemed to notice. One day, at a cafe, an elderly man struggled to carry his tray. Without thinking, I helped him. He looked at me, surprised. "Young men like you are rare these days," he said with a smile. That moment, small as it was, solidified everything Mr. Risch had taught me. Respect wasn't about status or wealth. It was about how you made people feel in the quietest of moments. Months later, I returned to the library hoping to find Mr. Risch, but he wasn't there. The librarian informed me he had moved away, leaving behind only a handwritten note. With a racing heart, I unfolded the paper. "Advik, the true test of respect is consistency. If you can uphold it even when no one is watching, you have truly learned. I believe in you, Mr. Risch." His words felt like a final lesson, one I had to carry on my own. He was gone, but his wisdom remained, echoing in every choice I made thereafter. Years passed, and the lessons of respect shaped my future in ways I never imagined. I became a leader, not through force or intelligence alone, but through understanding. People trusted me, sought my guidance, valued my presence. When journalists asked about my success, expecting tales of strategy and ambition, I always gave the same answer. Respect is earned, not demanded. If you want people to follow you, start by valuing them. Some dismissed it as too simple. But those who listened, truly listened, realized its power, because at the core of every great leader, there is earned respect. One day, I met a young boy much like my younger self, impatient, dismissive, convinced that success was built on talent alone. He spoke rudely to his elders, rolled his eyes at advice, and ignored the power of respect. I saw myself in him, the same arrogance, the same ignorance. But instead of scolding him, I asked, "Do you know what truly makes a man great?" He frowned, considering. "Wealth? Power?" I smiled, shaking my head. "No, my boy, it's the respect you give to others." And just like that, a new story, another lesson was about to begin. Looking back, I realize how much I had changed. Respect wasn't just about words. It was action, patience, understanding. It was in the way I treated my family, my friends, even strangers. It was in the way I carried myself, how I listened, how I responded to others. The truth was, respect didn't just earn me admiration, it made me a better person. And in the end, that mattered far more than intelligence, power, or wealth. Because when people remembered me, it wouldn't be for what I had. It would be for how I made them feel. So now I pass this lesson to you. If you want to be truly respected, don't chase power. Don't demand admiration. Instead, be kind when it's difficult. Be patient when it's easier to dismiss. And listen when others need to be heard. Respect is not given freely. It is earned through actions, through choices, through the quiet ways we treat one another. And if you start today with small changes, you will see it. The world will treat you differently, not because you asked for it, but because you showed them you were worthy of it.